Hello there. Welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. That's Paul Chiana, Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks for coming along as we finish up our draft for the day. We've got one more round to go before we transition over to Modern for the rest of the day. And got a nice one for you. Matt Nass is sitting down in the feature match area. He plays for Team Ultra Pro. He's sitting across from Reid Duke from Team Ultimate Guard. Let's head on down. It's time for the third and final round of the draft here on day one from Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. And welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Chian. This is the third and final draft round here on day one. It's Friday at the Pro Tour. These players have one more round to go with their 40-card decks, Paul. Then we're going to transition over to Modern, and they're going to get to unleash onto the world whatever it is that they have brought. But they've got to concentrate right now because one more round to go, and of course, every round's important at the Pro Tour. That is our first competitor, Reid Duke. He plays for Team Ultimate Guard, and he is sitting at 2-0, looking to play for the pod. He's currently ranked number 2 in the world, by the way, is Reid. On the other side of the table is Matt Nass. He plays for Team Ultra Pro, and he's all ready to go with a 2-0 as well. And I can tell you, I had a chance to take a look at his deck before the players actually started round number 1. He was just wandering around, and I was chatting with him. He said, take a look. Lot of removal in this deck, Paul. I don't know what Reid's on yet. Once we get the deck list, we'll be able to kind of break it down. But if it's a small creature deck, I do not like his chances.
Look at that hand. No commons. We don't play with commons. Okay, there's a common.
And there's Angrath the Flame Chained. Matt actually had an interesting first pick. He could pick Angrath, or he could pick Direfleet Neckbreaker. What do you like? Both black, red, gold cards. I told him I actually liked his pick of taking Angrath the Flame Chained, but I thought it was close.
Yeah, I think I like Angrath too. I think, the other card has a higher ceiling because you could just be an all-pirate, very aggressive deck. However, Angrath does, is much more splashable. And, if you end up something like green-red and you pick up some mana fixing, it is a very good card.
Yeah. I think about it in terms of let's say I end up with the Sailor Means deck, for example. Rather have Angrath the Flame Chained in that deck.
Absolutely.
All right. A good start here from Matt Nass, though, on turn 2 at least. He has a nice little attacker with Goblin Trailblazer, one of the premium 2-drops in the set. And
wow, look at that.
That is a stacked hand.
And he's got Golden Demise in hand.
Yeah.
This is a card that's really impressed me. There have been a lot of formats where effects like that, a 3-mana sweeper, all your creatures get -2/-2. Not so great. But in this specific format, a lot of decks want to be really aggressive. A lot of decks want to attack you. And, Ascend is actually just very achievable in the format. And when it's one-sided, it is very, very brutal. And, there are certain archetypes that Golden Demise are just really, really shine in. When you play against decks like the hyper-aggressive Black-Red Pirate deck, and also just decks like Merfolk, I mean, this card just does a lot of work. Although Reid is actually...
This is an interesting curve out from Reid Duke. He's got a pair of River Darter, of all things, on the battlefield, which is a...
filler.
It's not a great card. Yeah, filler's a good way to put it, but the interesting part is it actually dodges Golden Demise somehow.
It does.
Now, the other creatures on the battlefield don't. He's got a Mistcloak Herald that he played this turn as well, and the Gilt Grove Stalker. Both of those would die to it. Interestingly, Matt can help clean up some of the mess with Angrath. He can steal, for example, one of the River Darters, and it would actually die.
So, yeah, Matt actually has a couple of reasonable options here. He can play a land and just attack with the Telenalis Summoner, make a bunch of tokens, and he would have Ascend. So he gets to keep the tokens, which would allow him to Ascend, and then on the following turn, he can play a Golden Demise, while Ascended, and just be able to just get 2 of Reid's creatures off the board. But it looks like he decided to just tap out and just get one of the creatures out of the way here instead.
Yeah, he used Dark Nourishment to take down one of the River Darters there. He knows that those aren't going to be able to be taken care of. And, there's a lot of upside to a play like that from Nass, because you can see that Reid is clearly on at least attempting to be the low to the ground Merfolk deck. And that deck gets destroyed by Golden Demise. So Matt is going to use some of his targeted removal to pick off the cards that don't and hope that Reid is like, oh yeah, well, I've got 2 Guiltgrove Stalkers this turn. And, you know, Matt's just over there rubbing his hands together like,
yeah. And Matt chose to tap out. Dark Nourishment is an instant, but he chose to do it on his turn because Merfolk has a lot of tricks up its sleeve.
Speaking of.
But now I guess Matt is wishing he held it in his hand because...
Yeah, Curious Obsession's going to get him here. The good news for him is that, sure, that's not great. He's going to take an extra damage, and Reid's going to get a card off of it. But if Matt can untap and kill it, it only broke even.
Right. And he does have that Angrath in hand. And he can use the Angrath to steal the Mistcloaked Herald.
This is looking really bad for Reid, which is crazy to say because he's actually significantly ahead on board at this point with the Death Gorge Scavenger, but that's another 2 toughness creature that will die along with everything else. The real question for Nass is when, because he could make a big attack where he uses the Tillinolli Summoner to get him to ascend and then, you know, do that kind of thing. Because like you said, he'd really prefer to have ascend when he fires off the Golden Demise, but he may not have that luxury of waiting around. Yeah, and right now it still looks pretty strong. He would lose his board too. That's the downside.
Yeah, he has a few options here. He can choose to try to just get ascended by attacking with the Summoner here. Make a bunch of elementals. The Summoner actually just helps you a lot with the ascend trigger. He's going to be able to make 4 tokens, which would then give him 11 permanents on the battlefield. Alternatively, he can just choose to play an Angrath and get that Mistcloaked Herald off the board. But then the Angrath would die, as he doesn't have a way to actually block the Guiltgrove Stalker. So kind of an interesting situation here.
He's got a life total to play with. The really interesting thing to me is the Mistcloaked Herald from Reid Duke, because I think that Matt would use his life total as a resource here and change it, you know, go down to 6-7 life in order to get maximum value and really just wipe the board of Reid Duke using... Oh, this is really interesting from Matt. Look what he's done. He's decided to make 1 elemental.
Wow, I mean, alarm bells have to be ringing in Reid Duke's head. It's like, why would you do it for 1?
Right.
You know, do you have Moment of Creation? And it's 3 mana. Right. So, like, you know, Reid Duke's probably tested a ton, and he's got to be thinking about a potential Golden Demise here or some other combat trick.
Right. We may see him not block with River Darter as an option.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
He may throw the Death Forge Scavenger in front of the Tillinolli Summoner.
That's where I would lean.
Yeah, and just say, all right, I'll take 3. What are you going to do about it? I'm not going to walk into this. And this is awesome. Look at Reid Duke. He knows exactly what's going on, and he has to weigh it all out. I mean, it's so obvious, right? Like, he left 3 swamps out for the love of all things. There's not even a treasure to throw it off.
It's like, wait, you don't want to send here? What's going on?
Is Reid going to figure this out?
Oh,
he is.
For sure.
Look at this block.
This is...
great stuff from Reid.
He's the rank 2 player in the world. He sees this coming for sure. Yeah.
So Matt, though, doesn't have the option here. He's just going to have to swipe the board away. But again, thanks to Reid's heads-up play, he minimized the damage and gets to keep his River Darter, and that can keep applying pressure. Still, not great for Reid. That was a lot of cards hitting the graveyard.
Right, but he's got the Air Elemental in play.
Oh, boy.
And Matt Nass has an Angrath, but the Angrath can only sacrifice creatures with CMC 3 or less. So all he can do with the Angrath is just steal the River Darter and then sacrifice it. So, you know, that Air Elemental could get the job done because Matt Nass really not putting a lot of pressure on here. So playing the Angrath doesn't seem great. He might want to just play a threat here instead. But this is Magic at the highest level at the Pro Tour here.
Yeah,
Reid
Matt
Duke
Nass
saw that Golden Demise coming.
He's going to settle for Suncrown Hunters instead. Interestingly, Reid wants to have a look at his graveyard here.
Yeah, well, there are cards like Recover in the format, so just taking a look and seeing what options Matt Nass might have.
Matt was really hoping that Reid didn't do exactly what he did, which is untap and play a big evasive threat.
Oh, wow. Not just Trinket Text here. No, the River Darter attacking through the dinosaur.
Can't block it.
Yep.
It cannot block it. It just
be blocked by
swims
dinosaurs.
in between its legs and goes right over to Matt Nass. And, oh, boy, this is really not working out well for Nass. I mean, I kind of like the way he set that up, but it has not panned out for him. Now, he does have a lot of removal in this deck. He could use Angrath to kill one of the 2 smaller creatures on the other side of the battlefield.
And Matt Nass can't block any of the creatures on the board, so all he can do is attack here. But don't think he can do a whole lot here. Oh, he can survive a turn. But he would need to use the Mausoleum Harpy to basically chump block the Air Elemental just to stay alive.
Yeah, he just has to chump block, yeah. Reid is down to 10 at this point, but he's applying massive pressure. Matt has to chump block the Air Elemental in the middle. He's going to take damage from both the Aerialist and the Darter. And look at this from Reid Duke, just dropping the hammer on Matt Nass here with
Matt Nass
Crested
is at
Herd
1.
Collar. Yeah, there's really not many options here for Matt. Even with the removal spells and the Planeswalker in his hand, it's just not going to get him out of this mess from Reid. Reid really playing this beautifully, and Matt Nass has to pick up his permanence. That's Reid Duke with game number 1 through a golden demise from Nass. Great stuff from Reid. And I still like Matt in the matchup. I think that when we get a look at how much removal he actually has, you're going to say, well, this is going to be tough for green and blue creatures to stay alive. But game number 1 goes to Reid Duke. That makes him the favorite. We'll be back with more right after these messages. All right, we need decklists.
Booster Draft Leagues on Magic Online. Draft anytime, play anytime. Available now. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Head down to your local store and buy a box of Rivals of Ixalan to receive an Alt Art Foil Rare Captain's Hook. Limit 1 per customer. Visit rivalsofixalan.com to find a store.
Welcome back to the feature match area here in Bilbao, Spain. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. Deck lists in hand. We're all set to go here. Tons of removal for Matt Nass. I saw you were just poking around at the deck list there, Paul.
Yeah, he's got a ton of removal. He's got not only Golden Demise, but he also has the Fiery Cannonade. So he has multiple sweepers, which should be very, very effective against Reid Duke's kind of blue-green Merfolk deck.
Quick start here for Matt Nass. You can see that his removal even comes in the form of creatures, apparently, and this is, wow, a 1-2-3 curve into nothing from Reid. Now, Reid may have a Guiltgrove Stalker in his hand and just not wanted to play it into the Firebrand there. But, boy, Firebrand into Dusk Legion Zealot, and you can see Matt is just getting aggressive here. He's played the Forerunner of the Coalition, and he's going to get a Fathom Fleet border now, so he's just going to drop the hammer. He also may be missing his land drop.
He must not have a 4-drop because he does have 2 copies of Fathom Fleet Cutthroat, which is a really nice combination with the Fanatical Firebrand.
Reid better do something here because he is going to fall behind way too quickly if he doesn't have a play. And there's a signature Reid Duke card, his River Darter.
Just completely shutting down all of Matt's creatures.
Yeah, for now.
But Matt Nass does have a ton of removal. Oh, it doesn't look like he has anything, though. Wow.
And he is not playing a fourth land.
This is the best River Darter I've ever seen.
Yeah, honestly, that is the Hall of Fame River Darter right there.
One notable thing that I saw just looking through Reid Duke's deck, 3 copies, 3, of Forerunner of the Heralds. You can just start chaining them. Pretty good against removal decks.
There's one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually really difficult to deal with. Matt does have the removal to kill, but if you just keep playing them, they just get bigger and bigger, and he has good 4-mana plays to make indefinitely.
Yeah. You know, Matt has a lot of ways to kill small creatures, but I don't know if he has too much just like a hard removal. I think he might have like 1 copy of Impale.
Looks like a Silvergill Adept that he's pulled to the front, and part of the reason for that is because he has another one of those in his hand.
Yeah.
So that's going on top of my library.
By the way, update from our back table. Colin Roundtree and Joseph Kambarakis. These are the 2 that are playing for the pod in our feature pod. The one with Owen and Seth.
Just Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and it's Colin Roundtree and
platinums.
Joseph Kambarakis tied it at 1 game apiece on that one. So cool stuff for those guys.
Oh, it looks like Matt Nass actually just had both copies of the Fathom Fleet Cutthroat in hand.
And no lands either.
Right.
So interesting. You know, another thing that Matt does have the ability to do is leverage cards like his Fanatical Firebrand there in conjunction with Fathom Fleet Cutthroat to take down very large threats.
Yeah, but he does need to find that 4th land.
Absolutely. So he's going to play Mutiny.
And it's like, does he want to kill the River Darter or the Forerunner? I imagine it's the Forerunner, but the River Darter is keeping all of his creatures at bay. Oh, and he killed the River Darter. This allows Matt Nass to be far more aggressive here. He can also attack with the Dust Legion Zealot.
Absolutely.
If he wants to kind of 2-for-1, but the Dust Legion Zealot did draw him a card.
Yeah, I think I would
it's a
do
reasonable
that.
attack.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why Matt might not want to do that because he is trying to set up the
combo
of those 2 cards. But I wonder if Reid would block.
Right.
My guess is no. Go ahead. So Reid's going to go ahead and trade off here, though, for the much bigger threat.
How many cards do you have? 4.
And Reid is under assault, but here it is.
Wow, all right.
Crested Herd Caller, and this card, while good on offense, is excellent on defense as well, really shoring up the game. And look at this, Matt just cannot find a 4th land.
Yeah.
Okay, not bad, though. He found a Goblin Trailblazer.
Not a great target for that Tillinelli's Crown, however.
No.
And I think that was a Curious Obsession from Reid Duke, but doesn't look like he's in a position here to attack just yet.
No, that's, of course, the downside to Curious Obsession is, you know, there's a lot of situations where you just aren't really able to realistically attack.
But that is another card that's really surprised me. Just given the nature of all the cheap evasive creatures in the format, there's just like so many just draws that you can have where this card can just kind of run away with the game.
Oh, yeah. And Reid's deck is set up well for it.
I think kind of the dream is just, you know, turn 1, Mistcloaked Herald, just into the Curious Obsession.
Interesting here as well. I think Matt may have actually missed that Forerunner of the Coalition trigger. Reid, I believe, should be at 12.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he announced it.
All right, so now that Reid's kind of stabilized, is he going to look for another Forerunner here? Looks like he's considering the Mistcloaked Herald, but there is a Fanatical Firebrand on the battlefield.
Please get a River Darter.
Of course.
I just want to see it.
This Search for River Darter against Red-Black Pirates.
Yeah, go. Put this safely on top of my library. It looks like he's... Oh, he is getting a River Darter. Oh,
wow.
Man. Hey, it was really good against Matt in the first game.
And it is good against Golden Demise.
Which
right?
Matt has, by the way,
it's
in
probably
his hand.
The biggest merfolk he has in his deck.
Oh, man. Reid is just redefining here. And this is Silvergill Adept. You can see that he's revealed the Forerunner, which is going to allow him to draw that River Darter right away.
Oh, so he's putting himself in a situation where he can, because River Darter is also relatively cheap, he can play the other Forerunner. If he finds a land, he can double spell next turn and go Forerunner into River Darter.
Ooh, land number 4 off the top of the library, Paul.
Okay.
So we might have ourselves a game back in Matt Nass's favor as he finally has his 4th mana to work with.
But he still doesn't really have a great attack here. He can use the Fanatical Firebrand to deal 1 damage to the Forerunner, then play the Cutthroat. But then Reid still has 2 blockers for the Trailblazer. And Matt Nass's squad isn't really that big. And Reid's also done just like a pretty good job of kind of making sure he doesn't get blown out by the Golden Demise that he saw game 1.
Yeah, Reid very cognizant of it. In fact, one of the things that we saw Reid doing when he was looking for that Forerunner target was he had Mistcloaked Herald as the other option. And, you know, that would unlock the Curious Obsession in his hand and really give him a potential way to have a must-answer threat right away. But, you know, he said, I don't want to get wiped out here. I'm going to go ahead and just keep putting up 3 toughness creatures.
There's that little combo.
Yeah, so nice little combo. He ends up getting to trade off the Fanatical Firebrand. What he did is he sacrificed it to 1 damage to the Forerunner, and then playing the Cutthroat after that says, well, it can destroy any creature that took damage this turn, and that means that he gets to effectively trade off.
Reid kind of wants to see a land. Oh, but he drew a Mistcloaked Herald, which is nice because now he gets to play that Forerunner and then also turn it into a 4/3 if he plays the Mistcloaked Herald, which would then prevent him from, again, getting Golden Demised. Matt Nass is currently sitting on 8 permanents, so he's 2 permanents away from being ascended.
Attack.
Ooh, aggressive.
I like this from Reid. He's going to go ahead and get in there with both dinosaurs while Matt Nass is tapped out. Matt has to be tempted to go for some blocks here, though.
Yeah,
I mean, is he going to be able to race from this situation?
It seems difficult, so he might want to just put the Cutthroat in front of one of the dinosaurs here.
Right, because that's the kind of cleanest, least risky block.
Double block is much more difficult against the blue-green deck. You could have any combination of Dive Down and River Herald's Boon. Just so many different tricks that he could have here. And also blocking means that you're further away from being ascended. Okay.
Yeah, Matt looks like he likes his long-term proposition here, so he's going to go ahead and throw a double block as well as a single block. But I have to say, that's a pretty favorable transaction for Reid. Even though the Dusk Legion Zealot drew a card, it was still 2 full-on cards that went to the bin for only 1 from Reid.
Right. Now Reid's going to be able to play this Forerunner, deploy a Merfolk, so it becomes a 4/3 immediately. Play around that Golden Demise, and he's got this giant threat just kind of looming. Please just get another River Darter here.
I think he's out.
Oh
no, he's not.
There it is. It's probably better than the Giltgrove Stalker. So if he wants to get one.
Is this actually going to happen? Is he going to get River Darter twice?
Or I suppose he could potentially fail to find, thinking that maybe he has a better draw randomly. But no, he's going for the River Darter. Look at that. Searching up River Darters against the Black-Red Pirate deck.
Playing these Forerunners like a fiddle. And going to get River Darter not once but twice, which means he's running 2 River Darters. Like there's a lot of layers to this whole
I'm
thing.
already just like preparing for the Matt Nass Bad Beat story. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I lost a River Darter.
Ooh, interesting. He found the answer for a River Darter off the top of his library.
Oh, did he?
Vanquish the week.
Okay.
He might want to hang on to it for the ultimate threat, but...
Take 1.
All right, so he's going to go Fathom Fleet Cutthroat. He does remember the trigger this time and the last time, so he's only missed 1 of them. Reid's down to 10.
So he's got the Forerunner here.
Stable-ish. I mean, how is Reid
If he plays...
really going to drop the hammer here, right?
Yeah, Curious Obsession is certainly going on the unblockable creature here.
Yes, that must happen here. And again, you know, the thinking that the player will have at that point is, well, I'm going to get my card back off of it and force my opponent to deal with it. If that happens, I can live with that. The thing they can't live with is playing it and having the creature get killed in response.
Reid could also choose to play River Darter and put the Curious Obsession on the Forerunner, which would turn it into, it's currently a 4/3. It would be a 6. No, that wouldn't be good. it would only be a 6/5, right? Yeah, so that would not be enough to actually attack through both of Matt Nass's creatures.
So I think he's just going to put it on the Herald here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a nice attack. He's
Okay.
forcing a trade.
Yeah, the twofer here.
First, second.
Yeah,
Kill 'em
get
both.
rid of those.
You take 2 damage.
And you're going to take 2 damage and draw a card. You can hear Reid
13.
mention that.
Go.
Yeah.
And as you can see, you might have looked at that and thought, yeah, it looks pretty good from here. And it did. I mean, this is a good board state for Duke. Even if Matt untaps and kills a creature, he'll still have some pressure going.
Yeah, that was an interesting attack. I guess Reid just wanted to keep the board clear. But if you are mindful of the fact that there's a golden demise,
Which we're
that
gonna
Forerunner
see
just
here.
continues to grow and grow throughout the course of the game. So now Reid doesn't really have much of a board here. Whereas if he didn't attack with the Forerunner,
Oh, boy. He got
Matt Nass
punished
would've
here,
been
too.
forced
He
to
just drew
attack.
1 with the wind off the top. That's the kind of card that can slam the door. But instead, it's a pair of River Darters. And I think that Reid has Negate in his hand as well. Let's take a look and see
so
what he's
because of the
working with.
if he has a negate in hand,
Yes,
he
he
wants to be
does.
able to protect his
River
creature.
Darter?
And now he has a decision to make. Does he want to use the negate here, or just kind of choose to just protect his River Darter from
Yeah.
the final removal spell? And that's what he wants to do.
He brought the Negate in, primarily for a removal spell for a key threat, but there's also Angrath,
Right.
There's some big stuff.
Here we go. We are off to the races.
Yeah, and here we go. This is a race that Reid Duke will win easily if left unchecked, but there's a lot of removal spells in Matt Nass's deck that can take care of this River Darter. And if he can do so, he will actually be back in a pretty good position.
Matt has an interesting choice here. He can play Tillinolly's Crown to just be really aggressive and just get in for 5. Does that
Yes.
mean he win? No, he doesn't win the race there because it's still a 3-turn clock.
That's right, but he wouldn't need much more.
Right. He could draw a Fanatical Firebrand, for example.
By the way,
and he missed
by
a
the
point
way,
of
that
damage.
missed trigger, Paul.
He missed a point of damage.
That one trigger
Oh
from
my.
the Forerunner of the Coalition 10 minutes ago in this game could really come back to bite him. Now,
Okay.
in this case, Reid is going to respect the clock, and he's going to use Negate to counter Tillinolly's Crown. Also potentially thinking, look, if you had removal, you would have used it.
So Matt Nass has 1 turn to draw a removal spell for this River
But
Darter.
if he does, he's actually in good shape because Reid's out of gas. He's got 2 forests in hand.
Angrath
Go.
would be incredible here.
Yes. Let's see if Matt Nass can find it. If not, Reid Duke is going to dispatch of Matt
No
Nass in
Angrath.
2
He's
quick
attacking
games.
Impale. Oh, he drew a land, but he has a Mausoleum Harpy here
Okay,
just
so
for
he
a
has
chump
a
block.
chump block that will give him 1 more draw step.
Okay, here goes.
But Reid doesn't have any way to get it out of the way at the moment, and
And
it's an
another
island
land.
off the top. So we are going to get to see 1 more draw step from Matt Nass. Can he find an answer? Really
Impale,
tough.
Angrath. What is it?
What was it? Was it Angrath off the top?
Was it Angrath?
Oh,
my God, it was
boom! Angrath off the top of the library. That's going to let him steal the River Darter, hit Reid Duke.
Oh, man.
2, 4, 6. He's going to put Reid to 1. And then he's going to get to sacrifice the River Darter and have Angrath ready to kill Reid Duke next turn.
Wow.
Oh, what a rip for Matt Nass.
And if Matt Nass didn't forget that trigger, Reid would have actually just been dead right
Yes,
now.
he would have. He has given Reid an extra draw step, but it's hard to imagine that Reid
there's
could
no
find his
answer
way
here.
out of this. Yeah.
There's no haster. Matt Nass just needs to plus the Angrath to deal the final 2 points of damage to Reid Duke.
And even if Angrath were to get dealt with, he has a lethal Dinosaur Hunter,
Crash and hide.
Okay.
and he's
Is there
going
a
to
haster?
bounce it to draw a card, but he needs something with haste, and you don't see that often in this color pair.
Does he have a way to gain life? Oh,
Yes, he actually does.
He gains life.
Death
Oh
Cord
my
Scavenger can exile a creature and gain Reid 2 life. Oh my God.
What?
He is going to
This
be at
is
3.
insane.
That 1 missed trigger has come back to haunt Matt Nass in a major way here. So what needs to happen now? Matt needs to find a blocker or removal spell?
Well, he does have the blocker still in his hand. It got bounced, right?
Sure. You get rid of a
Reduce down
card
to
and
1.
lose 2 life, go down to 1. Right. So he has the Dinosaur Hunter. We know that. And he just passes.
Oh, my.
But if Reid can get that thing out of the way, he could kill him.
He didn't find an answer here. He needs to. And Reid Duke is
super
currently at
awkward
1
because
life.
fight cards don't do anything because it's Dinosaur Hunter.
Reid is at 1, so he has to attack with the Death Gorge Scavenger. And I think he drew a land, so I think this is it. I think he loses. Right?
If he drew nothing, Matt can trade.
Matt can trade. Reid goes up to 3.
But he goes up to 3.
Oh, no, so he has one more turn.
Exactly.
But he needs to find another way to gain life because of the Angrath?
Yes, Angrath is such a problem.
Okay, so there's the trade. Reid really needed a spell there. Oh,
He actually does it. It's an Ixalan's Diviner.
He hit.
He did hit. It's a hunt the week, so now Reid has to decide.
I think you want to keep it?
He decided to get rid of it. It would not make his Diviner lethal.
Oh, right.
Plus it, go back down to
needs a
1
pump
for
spell.
the 3rd time this game.
He needs a pump spell here. Time to read.
He's deciding if he needs to attack Angrath.
All right, you got me. Good game.
Oh, and that does it. Matt Nass picks up game number 2. Oh, he made it interesting for us, though. I'll tell you that.
Oh, my goodness.
Woo. And you know what? We get a game number 3 here,
Oh,
Paul.
that was exciting.
Oh, my gosh. Put your seatbelt on for that one. Matt, it's crazy. That 1 point of damage came up 3 times. He could get him down to 1.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's take a look at Shaheen Surrani and John Stern, though. They've been going at it for a bit, but they're actually still in game number 2. By the way, both players sitting at 2-0. And I know that Shaheen Surrani has, it's safe to bet that he has a spicy brew at every tournament that he goes to, but I know he has one here. He mentioned it to me before. I'm not going to say it. But that'd be cool, actually. Can we build that after this?
We can try.
I want to Esper Ascend in Modern. All right, so game 2, Shaheen Surrani up a game. It's Traveler's Amulet for John. There's really not that much going on the battlefield here, though. These guys... Game 1 must have been a real epic game because they're looks like in the early stages of game 2.
Shaheen just looks like just a normal black-white deck. It looks like John Stern is on Jund Dinosaurs, as I see a swamp and a commune with dinosaurs in his graveyard.
Okay. Jundasaurs?
Jundasaurs.
I'm into that. Arch of Araska hits the battlefield.
Wait, what? Wow, Traveler's Amulet's really bad.
Yeah, Zekaland. But there's a Territorial Hammer Skull, and that is going to keep Shaheen on the front foot here because even if John plays a nice big blocker, Shaheen's just going to be able to crash in for 4 anyway.
Yeah, I think John really would needs to find like a removal spell here.
I don't know
if
if
he
you're
has
going to
one.
do Bombard. I didn't want to stop it before it happened.
Does John also have an Angrath in his deck? That would be a decent black card to splash, and it looks like a Planeswalker.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Arch of Araska. So Angrath, John could use that just as a way to deal with the Territorial Hammer Skull, but it would put the Angrath at 1, and the Martyr of Dusk would finish it off. And I think oftentimes you want to sculpt your game plan to protect your Planeswalker.
Right. And it looks like that's what John's going to do. He's going to take a little bit of a slower route here, play a Deep Root Warrior, maybe have a removal spell at the ready.
Shaheen wants a plains here, I think.
Yeah, Dusk Legion Zealot to try to draw him into that land. He did actually find a swamp.
Yeah, he's got multiple...
he's got Exultant Sky Marchers.
Exultant Sky Marchers, and who knows what that Arch of Araska could have been. Could have been that plains.
Yes, yeah, there is a downside to playing those, right? Yeah. I mean, it really matters. All right, well, why don't we let these guys come to a conclusion here? We'll keep an eye on them because I want to go back to Matt Nass and Reid Duke. That match has just been electric.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things there, too, because, I imagine Reid wanted to clear the board, but it seemed like for a while he was trying to play around that Golden Demise, and then trading off that Forerunner, which could have gotten bigger, might have cost them there.
Yes, it might have. I mean, it's hard to give up a 2-for-1, right? Which he took there. But and of course, by doing that 2-for-1, he did unlock the ability for his remaining creatures to attack. But he opened himself up to Golden Demise, and that was a big step towards Matt actually winning the game. Speaking of, he just peeled it right off the top
Matt's
of the library.
It's a little slow. He's got double Fathom Fleet Cutthroat. He's got the Mutiny, but that Golden Demise is certainly going to help.
Okay, a Gilt Grove Stalker kicks things off for Duke. That's a good start for him. It's hard for Matt to have a blocker.
I think Matt Nass might have drawn a dinosaur Hunter.
He did.
But now, now that he's got that golden demise, I wonder. I guess he's wondering if he should like sandbag it. But
well, this is really interesting to me because look at Reid. He's sitting there watching Matt. If Matt just after tanking it out goes land go,
yeah,
Reid has to be thinking about things like, well, what would he be thinking about?
Right, right.
Especially if he doesn't use a removal spell here, right? Like if we were to see Moment of Craving, then Reid would go, okay, he was deciding if he wanted to play his 2-drop or play Moment of Craving. But if, Reid's like, attack you for 2, play a thing, go, and Matt's just like, okay, draw my card. You're like, wait a second. Yeah, what were you thinking about?
It really puts a lot of pressure here because if you look at Reid Duke's hand, he's also got a Curious Obsession. Does he want to just use it here? Wow.
That is, wow. No fear mode for Reid Duke, and he's just going to jam it. What a sweet play, though. Yeah, but I mean, one of the most highly picked and often played black commons in this set is Moment of Craving, and Reid just correctly deduced that Matt didn't have it and ran Curious Obsession into it.
Definitely.
Unreal. Now he's going to get a little punished here because he's going to get
yeah, but it was
air quotes 2-for-1
yeah,
back.
But it was kind of a 1-for-1 because the Curious Obsession, of course, replaced itself. And Reid's hand is still full of a lot of great cards. So I'm sure Reid is actually reasonably happy that he doesn't have to play around Golden Demise anymore.
Absolutely. And that is the upside to Curious Obsession in a spot like that, is that it really does force Matt to do something. And in this case, the answer he had happened to be Golden Demise.
Oh, here we go. I want to see some
Are we Forerunner? Yeah,
He's got 3 in his deck.
This gets really ugly really quickly for Matt Nass. If he doesn't have a lot of hard removal at the ready, he is going to get ran over. And it is hard to continually remove 4 3s, 5 4s from the battlefield.
Yeah. He will be able to deal with one of them, as he does have a Mutiny in hand. But again, Reid Duke with 3 copies of Forerunner of the Heralds in his deck.
Oh, man. And the curve out continues here from Reid. Also, you note that Reid is not trading off on the ground now. He's going to be patient.
Yeah.
He wants to chain together those Forerunners and get maximum number of +1/+1 counters going before he starts attacking.
Oh, Matt Nass drew another copy of Mutiny here, but he cannot get rid of the Air Elemental currently. He needs to wait for the Forerunner to actually grow. Oh, but he's got the Fathom Fleet Cutthroat. Nice.
Pretty sweet. So Air Elemental crashes back down to Earth, and in fact right into the graveyard.
And now Reid Duke is probably going to be on the chain your Forerunners plan here.
Yeah, probably so. By the way, you see how important it is to hit with that Ixalan's Diviner. Look at the difference. It's just sitting here doing stone nothing now.
Yeah.
If it had a counter on it, there would be no attacks available for Nass.
Reid is actually a little bit flooded here too.
Well,
but
he's got action coming, doesn't he?
The Forerunners do just guarantee action. One thing, outside of the Forerunners, it doesn't look like Reid picked up one of like the big payoff Merfolk. You know, he doesn't have cards like the Merfolk Mistbinder, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Dream doesn't have the Kumena.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. With the Forerunners, it's funny because his primary game plan, well, besides getting River Darter, apparently, is to just search up more Forerunners, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't mind capping it off, with a Mistbinder.
Definitely. All right, a lot of reasonable options for Matt Nass. He's got just a lot of action here. That Forerunner just means that he's guaranteed to find another pirate, and he can use that Muni to get rid of one of the Forerunners. He can actually be pretty aggressive here. Just get rid of the 4/3, and then attack with both of the Cutthroats, and then play the Forerunner and find another pirate. And Reid Duke can go for a chump block here, or just take 6.
Yeah, this Forerunner plan from Reid, if interrupted by removal on back-to-back turns, well, it's not so great. I mean, he's not getting ahead on cards here, right? It's just a sort of forcing the issue type play, but
how many cards do you have?
This is actually a game that Matt could win.
All right, I'll take it. 11.
Wow. Reid just took all of it. Doesn't want to trade off. He wants to maintain that last Forerunner because of its potential, kind of similar to last game where he decided to trade it off before.
Is Angrath a pirate planeswalker?
No, he's not. I mean, he is, but he's not.
Like Vraska?
There you go.
You have 2? That's right.
By the way, the match that we were watching just a minute ago, Shaheen Surrani and John Stern, they have evened things up there, so they're going to go to a game 3. We'll get a chance to watch that if this one ends up going quickly.
10-17.
Right. Looks like that is the best
we
pirate
have seen
left.
some extremely disappointing forerunners in this match. You know, again, like, okay, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Fathom Fleet Border, just as a card, but it's not necessarily the one that you're, you know, dreaming of when you have a forerunner of the Coalition.
Yeah. I think oftentimes the best forerunners you'll see are in the dinosaur deck because you can actually get something big and expensive, whereas the other tribes are just kind of a little lower to the ground.
I mean, open up a great rare. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Get a Sanctum Seeker or something.
All right. Reid Duke, just trying to get a little value
this
here.
I like.
I can appreciate
this.
this.
I can like, yeah.
And this is going to be full price, too.
He's going to have to pay for it, but it's well worth it. It's going to get 2 triggers on his forerunners and get him a card back as well as adding a body to the board.
Did Matt even look at that card? It must have been really quick because
well, he knows what it is.
Oh, sorry, it was the card he forerunner for, of course.
Yeah, the border.
So again, Reid doesn't have a great block. He could choose to get the 3-2, choose to trade with the 3-2, because even with the Silvergill Adept, it still won't trade with the Cutthroats unless he finds like a very cheap Merfolk.
And that's a lot of damage, right? I mean, that would have brought him down to 4. That starts to get pretty scary. So I like that trade a lot from Reid. As you said, it would have. He's not even guaranteed he's ever going to get that last counter on the forerunner.
So he really needs to find another creature here off this Silvergill Adept. The forerunner is now a 5/4, so he can block the 3/3s on the battlefield, but he would really like to draw something.
Yeah.
And he found a 1 with the wind, and I imagine he's just going to use it here just for defense.
Like he might just put it on one of the smaller creatures to create a better blocker.
Like putting it on the Ixalan's Diviner, you make a 2/5 flyer. That's kind of
it's ugly.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it ain't pretty, but it gets the job done.
It does. That's right. And he has to figure, you know, that he's burned through a lot of the removal that Matt Nass has in his library, and he may have a little bit more, but he's out of gas right now. So.
Oh, on the Adept.
Okay. So that makes it a 4/3 with flying that can block both the Forerunner of the Coalition and the Dino Hunter profitably. So, okay.
Matt Nass doesn't have a...
He has all of his bases covered.
He doesn't have a great attack here. So he's got 2 of the 3/3s. One of the 3/3s would be blocked by the Forerunner.
Yep.
The other 3/3 I could see maybe being chumped by the Diviner. And then... the Silvergill Adept could block any of the 2/2, so no good attack. And Matt, you know, he can be a little bit patient. He's at 17. He's got a lot of pirates in his deck to drain Reid Duke with the Forerunner and a ton of removal. So he's just looking to draw a removal spell to get either the Forerunner or the Silvergill Adept off the board.
Reid goes into the tank as the players have hit this point of the game where, you know, this is where your most expensive, powerful cards are game breakers, right? You draw your 6-drop rare, and all of a sudden you're way ahead in the game. Now he's drawn a 1-drop here, so not so hot.
Does Reid attack? No, he chooses not to.
Yeah, he's going to pass the turn back. And
okay.
Mausoleum Harpy off the top.
That was a Harpy.
He will have the City's Blessing here as well.
Yeah, so Matt might be a little bit more inclined to attack, but I don't think the situation has changed here, really. The Mausoleum Harpy will now grow whenever creatures trade, so he might be more inclined to do it. So maybe he does have an okay attack here, because this Harpy will become gigantic if Reid loses any creatures on his side as well.
And Reid
no, it's whenever creature you control. Sorry.
It is,
right.
But still, you know, that is often going to have Matt's creatures dying too. And Reid is not in a great position. If Matt Nass can get this Mausoleum Harpy up to 5/5 or something like that, he could apply intense pressure to Reid. The interesting part here is that if Matt decides to put the Forerunner of the Coalition at risk, that will take away part of his ability, his reach, as we call it, his ability to get in damage that's not through combat.
There we go. Let's go with optimal blocks here.
Right, and as you can see, the first card that Reid blocked, the thing that he's prioritizing is that Forerunner, because that is a really, really scary card when you're in blue-green. You just... you don't have a lot of great answers to it. You got a few fight cards, but like Water Knot doesn't do what you want.
And I think Reid might consider actually going down to 3 here, because based on these attacks... Oh, no. Based on, no matter how you slice it, Matt Nass will have a 5/5 Mausoleum Harpy based on these blocks. So maybe he wants to just go with the chump block here and preserve his life total and find an answer for this Harpy. Yeah,
I feel like Reid's probably looking at the Mistcloaked Herald and saying, what's its best case scenario this game? It probably is soaking up 3 damage.
Yeah.
It's not a happy place to be. But Matt Nass is pretty all in on this Harpy now, and if Reid can find a removal or bounce spell, he could really set back.
Yeah, Crashing
Matt's
Tide
problems.
would be huge.
Yeah, totally. If he can't, though, oh boy.
Oh yeah, that's going to end the game very quickly.
Yeah, the Harpy as a 5/5 flyer, only one blocker for Reid. He is at 6, though, which is, of course, a big difference. A whole turn worth of mana and card off the top of your library here, at least as a board sits. So,
It's a green spell.
what did he find? A Jadecraft Artisan? Yeah.
Just 2, add 1 counter.
And he may just have to try to attack a bunch
Is it
here.
racing time? It is racing time.
Yes, and that means he's even saying, I'm going to potentially take 5 damage here in the air and go down to 1. Yeah,
Wow.
this is awesome stuff from both of these guys. Reid recognizing that this game is not going the way he wanted, and if he's going to win it, it's going to be through combat and getting and turning this into a race.
So
He
this is
cannot sit
11
here.
damage.
It's a huge attack.
No. It's 13 damage because something got +2/+2, right? So that's 7 + 4 from the Adept
Yes.
+2. So, but I don't think Matt Nass can block here.
No.
Yeah. Like the Silvergill, it's currently what, 4/3, 6/5?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's, I guess he could go for the trade here, but I don't think that's a path to victory
No,
here.
because, I mean, his plan would be attack you down to 1 and then not die.
You know what would be awesome? If Matt Nass found a removal spell, killed one of his other creatures to pump the Harpy
and get
for
lethal. He could.
That would be amazing.
Wow, let's see what he finds here. He
Does he
could
find a
win
removal
the
spell?
game this turn.
Oh,
it was
no.
a mountain off the top. He really needed to find a spell there. A removal spell would have been ideal, but now he can't even attack. He needed another blocker on the ground, and this one has slipped away from Matt Nass and back in Reid Duke's favor. Oh,
What is this?
Crashing Tide?
Oh my goodness, that's a crashing tide. Wow.
Crashing Tide
That's
to send
it.
the Harpy back.
Just
and
attack
that's
with
going to
the
give
Adept.
Reid Duke a beautiful attack here. He's going to survey the scene, but how is Matt supposed to recover from that?
I think this is it. Because Reid has to think, if Matt Nass had a removal spell, he would have used it on his own creature for the win.
He actually found Hunt the Weak off of it as
Wow.
well. And he's going to fight to kill
What a series
the
of
Hunter
draws
and
there.
send in the team. And that's going to do it. Reid Duke scraps out the 3-0 against Matt Nass in 3 awesome games. Great stuff from our main feature match there. Well done, Reid. That was fun to watch. I'm glad we got a chance to watch that one.
Oh yeah, what a close one. Just back and forth.
Looks like one more match still going in the feature match area here. Shaheen Surrani and John Stern, the one that we had just popped in a few minutes ago. Again, they are in game 3 now over there as well. Man, number 2 in the world, Reid Duke.
That was an incredible match.
Okay, let's check. Whoa!
Wow.
More
so
Planeswalkers.
just 2 rares on the battlefield.
Yeah, those are the only 2 cards right now for John Stern. He's got Golden Guardian, though nothing to fight.
Right.
But still, it's just a great blocker.
Yeah, yeah.
Which time we have? Low, I think. 12 minutes.
12, 13 minutes.
Oh, we're fine.
Players just double checking the clock to make sure. Again, that first game
Well, plus this.
really did take a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta figure out
It was grindy, but this one,
Yeah, but my turn as well. So.
John Stern's looking pretty good. Oh, never mind. He is at 4 life.
Oh boy, life
Okay,
totals
just
seem
very
relevant
close.
here. Yeah. So Angrath continually chipping away at Shaheen Surrani's life total. Excuse me, cards in hand. And I guess I suppose
And John
life
Stern
total
has
as
actually
well.
a very good removal
Wow.
spell in hand into Reckless Rage, but not quite enough damage to deal with the Sun-Crested Pterodon here.
That's funny. He just got rid of Zakama. Or excuse me, not Zakama, Zapalta.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's in the graveyard now.
Giant dinosaur.
Yeah, but that was just discarded because it looks like Shaheen Surrani thought 8 mana was going to take a little too long.
So John Stern,
So
I mean,
Zapalta
he
hits the
might,
yard.
this Pterodon might just get him. He's at 4 life. Does he have a way?
That's not going to do it. Raging
not gonna do
Regisaur
it.
is not even close.
Here we go.
And Shaheen Surrani, even facing down a Planeswalker, may just be in good position here to put a 2-turn clock on John.
Yeah. He could get rid of the Angrath here if he
Yeah.
wanted to, but he could also just try to go for the 2-turn clock. I mean, the Angrath isn't really all that threatening until it hits 3 loyalty.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think I would just look to just go to John Stern.
I would too. And by the way, he played that Territory Hammerskull pre-combat so that he could give vigilance to his Pterodon, just in case, you know.
Right. This is a close one.
So right now he does have an answer to the Sun-Crested Pterodon, though, right? John does.
He does, but he also wants to get that Territorial Hammerskull off the board, too.
Yeah, he's actually got multiple problems now.
Yeah.
So he can use Reckless Rage plus the ping from the Register to kill the Pterodon.
So he wants to get that off the board, and he still needs to find an answer to the Sun-Crested Pterodon here. So he needs to draw something here.
Yeah, the Pterodon's still the big problem. Does he have a way to get rid of it?
Plus.
Pounce.
He has a Pounce.
Is Pounce enough?
It is enough because he can ping it after attacks and then pounce. The problem is, does he just die?
Does he not have enough mana?
He wants to cast the Araska Frillback as... Wow,
I don't...
so close. He's fine.
Is he?
Yeah, right?
Oh,
Attack with the
sorry.
Regisaur,
I
ping the
misread.
flyer.
Yeah, so that is the red-green dinosaur. I thought it was the pirate for some...
No, he can ping it and then finish it off.
Right.
And then he will still have the 4/4 down on the ground to block, and the most he'd take is 1. But he just wants to make sure he has an extra blocker with this Araska Frillback, which makes sense. So ping this, and then he's just
not suspicious at all.
Yeah, he just needs to fight it. But I guess he's going to let Shaheen decide what he wants to do, because since Pounce is an instant, John can take his time.
No blocks.
No blocks.
Yeah, Shaheen just
actually worked out beautifully.
This is big.
This is huge. This is probably the match going to John Stern right now. And that's just the wind going out of Shaheen Surrani's sails, because that was he had everything tied up in that.
Yeah, John Stern is at 2. Is there anything Shaheen can do here?
I mean, there's cards that kill him in the format, but I don't think he has them.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Angrath has just been tearing apart Shaheen's hand.
And
his life total.
It's now forcing the steal effect as well.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Angrath the Flame Chain has really kind of saved John Stern here. Strangely, I don't actually think of Angrath as that type of planeswalker, the one where it's like, I'm way behind, I played it, oh, thank God, I'm alive now. But it looks like it's actually turned this game for him.
Yeah, I mean, it is still just a 5-mana removal effect, right? And you have to get it off the board. And planeswalkers are they just kind of change the way a game is played. It
100%.
Oftentimes it just revolves around, how am I going to, change my game plan to get it off the board? Because if I don't, just typically planeswalkers are the types of cards that give you that continuous advantage throughout the course of a game. Wow, and this Sword Tooth is going to be amazing as well.
He's got the Raging Sword Tooth, which looks beautiful right here. He can clear out 2 of the vampires,
and he
do
can
1 to the Paladin of the Bloodstain, and then finish it off.
And steal that, shoot that, and that should be lethal.
Yes, he absolutely has lethal. This game is over.
Block that, and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even get to block it. It took 1 damage, and he's going to ping it when it attacks. So that is game. John Stern. It sounds like right before we got there, he was way behind in this game. And used Angrath to kind of dig his way back out.
I mean, you still had outs, probably, like, the way you played it.
Yeah, I had outs.
You can hear the players kind of commiserating a post. But welcome back to the booth here. That's Paul Chi and I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for joining us here for live coverage of Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. That is going to wrap it up for our booster draft portion here on day 1. Friday, we've, of course, going to be working our way over to the modern portion here as we kind of take a break. The players get a little bit of a break. We're going to get inside R&D and a modern preview as well, with our own Simon Gertzen, who's going to kind of walk you through where we're at with the modern format right now. And I know you're excited to get to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. When we come back, the players are going to be on their lunch. When they come back, though, we're going to have live.
Excited for modern. Really excited for modern.
It's going to be sweet. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Well, that does it for our first draft here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. Hello, Marie Bartholdi here at the news desk with you. Some results from the floor after 3 rounds of draft. Colin Roundtree won our feature pod that we started off the morning with, 3-0 over Joseph Kambarakis. Jarvis Yu starts the morning off at 3-0. Ben Stark, also a very good morning at 3-0, along with Alexander Hain at 3-0. And Brian David Marshall is with another 3-0 drafter.
Thanks, Maria. I'm here on the floor with Pro Tour Hall of Famer Raphael Levy, 3-0 after the first draft, but more importantly, on a streak of 1 consecutive Pro Tour attended. Raph, tell us about your previous streak.
My previous streak started in Paris in, started at Worlds 98. I started the Pro Tour in February or April 97. I missed 3 PTs until Worlds 98. And from Worlds 98, I haven't missed a PT. Well, until recently.
Yeah, until Pro Tour Ixalan, you weren't there at the Hall of Fame dinner, and we noticed, but it was for a very good reason. Talk to us about why you skipped a Pro Tour.
So the night before I boarded my flight, we were finishing the tests with the team. It was 1 in the morning. Our flight was at 11. And my wife was due like 3.5 weeks later. And it was already a question, like, would I be able to go? Or is it worth the risk? And the doctor said, well, if it happens, it happens, but it's unlikely he comes out when you're away. And I booked from Wednesday to Sunday. I would have been back on Sunday. So the night before, at 1:30, she calls me, like, look, I think it's starting. Like, really? Okay. So I drove back home. We called the hospital. The hospital said, well, you're about to have the child. Like, okay, well, let's go. And he was born at 10:07 and my flight was at 11. So it was not, by the time we went to the hospital, it was not even a question to go anymore. But I was like, oh yeah, well, you're going to be called Ixalan. No, never mind. No, not Ixalan, but. So, yeah.
And your son, Levon.
Yes.
In fact, he's here with you this weekend with your wife, Monica. What's it like to bring your son to the Pro Tour and to start this new streak and then maybe think about sharing this game with him as he grows up?
I took him to the site yesterday. I said, look, everything's going to be yours. You're going to be reigning over this later. Well, kind of. But it's fun. I don't know if he'll like the game. I hope he will. And how is it? Okay, well, he's coming, so you'll see. You'll first see him there. So let's go. Yeah, he's coming in 2 seconds. Here we go.
Aww.
So here we go. That's the. Hello. That's.
Hello, Monica.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hello.
So that's BDM. That's the one who will host your trophy interview, your PT win interview. Okay.
And possibly the Hall of Fame induction ceremony about maybe 28 years from now.
Yeah, we're gonna be old, and we are gonna be old. He's not gonna be that old, but.
All right, Raph Levy and family. He's 3-0 here in draft. Hopefully something exciting for us in modern. Have a great time here in Bilbao. Win, lose, or draw. Everything's going to be coming up golden for you here.
Thank you.
What an awesome story, and that's why I love the Pro Tour. So many incredible stories happening and being created all weekend long. Not only are we seeing the top high-level magic here, we're also creating lots of interesting storylines along the way, including Rivals of Ixalan, the story of the block. We get to go inside R&D right now to get a look at what was inside their heads when they were putting together the Rivals story.
The story of Ixalan was fundamentally a race between 4 factions looking for Araska, the Golden City, which is said to house the immortal sun, this mythical location that turns out to be very much real. Among those factions are also our planeswalkers. Jace and Vraska are looking for the Golden City. So finally, the first one to reach the Golden City is the Merfolk Shaper Kumena, who opens up Araska, and these veins of gold open in the landscape. He claims the power of the Immortal Sun for himself. And in all of the tumult and shifting landscape, Jace falls down a waterfall. Vraska reaches out to save him but can't, and that is kind of where we left things.
So many things are lost away here on Ixalan. One of them is Azor. So who is Azor? Azor is famous from being the founder of Azorius. He's a Sphinx that founded the White-Blue Guild in Ravnica and has mysteriously disappeared. Where did he go? Well, now we know he's stuck here on Ixalan.
Fundamentally, we knew that Azor was this guy who apparently kind of goes around and founds systems of laws and tries to get people to live a certain way. Ravnica is a world where that went really, really well. We thought it would be really, really interesting to show a world where maybe that didn't go so well, and Azor's intentions had some unexpected results.
So you'll notice two things. One maybe more obvious and one less. The more obvious is when you attack with Azor, you cast Sphinx's Revelation. X and a white and 2 blue, gain X life, draw X cards. So a clear callback to the Azorius card Sphinx's Revelation. The other one that's less noticeable, that someone pointed out the last minute that we sort of worked in there, is that the mana cost is double white and double blue, which historically we've used to indicate that that card is a guild leader of a Ravnica guild. If you go back and look at the Ravnica guild leaders, that's a pattern in their mana cost.
In Ixalan, we saw that Jace was being oppressed by the Immortal Sun. You saw that circular image above him, and it was sort of him being just beat down and unable to planeswalk by this weird shape. And now we have kind of an equally abstract piece opening up our story spotlights for Rivals of Ixalan, being Flood of Recollection, which is when Jace is toppled down to the bottom of a waterfall at the end of Ixalan and then wakes up at the bottom and starts recalling things from his past. Like, if you're a player that's been with us for a while, you might even be able to see some Easter eggs in the waterfall back there.
Jace has kind of Swiss cheesed himself quite a bit. There are a lot of things he doesn't remember, and there are a lot of things that he sort of knows about himself without really being able to vividly remember. His origin story back on Vryn with his mother and father and the Sphinx Alhamret, he knows what happened, but he doesn't actually remember, for example, what his mother looked like. Well, now he does. Now he remembers all of it. And so over the course of Ixalan, we got to see Jace kind of become this new person, kind of decide for himself who he is. And now we get to see what that new person will do with all of the memories that our Jace has never had.
From a mechanical standpoint, I think Flood of Recollection is pretty cool because we've typically had the line for this type of effect be around 3 mana before. And this is one place where we're sort of pushing the envelope a little bit and trying, double color, so it takes 2 blue, but you're getting this effect at a cheaper rate than you might expect from a set these days.
Throughout Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan, the relationship between Jace and Vraska is very interesting. Complicated. These are 2 people who were bitter enemies on Ravnica, but with Jace's memory gone, he didn't remember that, and he's been forming a close attachment to her as they go through. And Vraska, who has never really been understood before, finds herself understood by this guy with his memory wiped as well. There's a bitter ending to that story, though, because Jace knows that if Vraska returns to Bolas, and Bolas reads her mind, as he does, being a mind mage dragon himself, then Bolas will know that Jace knows what Bolas's plans are. Yes. And that would be bad. So Jace, with Vraska's permission, eliminates all trace of himself from her memory. So the relationship that they've built over time is gone.
Our third story spotlight card, Mastermind's Acquisition. Now, we know from the Ixalan story that it was Nicol Bolas who sent Vraska here and sent her with the thaumatic compass that points the way to Araska, the Golden City. Well, what did Bolas want? Turns out he wants what everyone on Ixalan wants, the sun itself, the immortal sun, this device, this stone, that among other things is the object keeping planeswalkers from leaving the plane.
Mastermind's acquisition is a interesting twist on a cycle of cards we've done in the past called Wishes, where you cast the spell and you can actually go outside the game. So in tournaments, that means your sideboard, and pull something in to help you. And it's interesting because Mastermind's acquisition lets you actually go either into your library or outside the game. So it pretty much lets you have access to any card that you might otherwise have access to in that tournament at that moment. So it lets you sort of toolbox your way into whatever situation you want to solve.
In design, one of the things that you're often trying to do is you'll have story moments that you have to sort of capture in card form. So one of the interesting things was the Immortal Sun. That's a key part of the story. It's why Jace and Vraska are trapped here, and so we needed to bring that to life. So the question was, how do you do that? What does it mean that planeswalkers can't planeswalk? That's a hard thing to capture in a card. And then we came up with the idea of, what if it shut down planeswalker loyalty abilities? Like, planeswalkers, they don't work as normal. We thought that was kind of a cool idea.
The set is about gaining control, wresting control, knocking the other rivals out, and assuming dominance. So from the beginning, we were looking for kind of a king of the hill mechanic, something that expresses, I've got it. I'm in charge. I found the thing. And we went through a bunch of different ideas before we settled on Ascend.
Ascend's a pretty interesting mechanic. It started off as Emperor pretty early on, was what it was called. And I don't know who started it, but I know I talked to Yanni Skolnick about it a lot, and he was very excited. And after my first playtest, I was pretty interested too. Like, the first time someone attacked me with a 2/2 on turn 3 into my 2/2, and I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to trade so that I can keep my permanent count higher as this game goes on. I was like, this is interesting. So we had to tinker with a lot of things. We tried different numbers of permanents, we tried different functionality, but the whole time it had this great feeling of I'm racing against my opponent to achieve, which is exactly what we were looking for with Rivals of Ixalan. We've got the Immortal Sun. We know everyone wants it. We've got Ascend. We know everyone wants to claim the city's blessing. It really just played so well.
So one thing we looked at with the Ascend mechanic is looking for types of cards that are very powerful early in the game and not really fun if you get them out that early. But if we make you have to work for them, we can give you that powerful effect later on. Slippery Scoundrel is a lot like the old Innistrad card Invisible Stalker, which was one of everyone's favorite cards to complain about. Well, now at least, when your opponent is facing down your Slippery Scoundrel, you can tell them, hey, I had to ascend. I earned this card.
We knew that we wanted to do more double-face cards. We were going to introduce them in Ixalan and not have them in Rivals of Ixalan, but we wanted them to have a little bit of different flavor. And so this part of the story is all about the Golden City, that everybody's trying to find the Golden City, and they do. This part of the story is where they find the Golden City, and they're sort of jockeying and fighting for the Golden City. So we like the idea that the double-face cards here, that some of them were quests, that you're sort of, just like the people in the story, you were kind of fighting for it, you, the player, have to kind of earn the land.
All of the double-faced cards we wanted to feel quest-like or trap-like you were triggering something within the temple and then it was a bad thing happening for either you or your opponent. Obviously that meant some of the effects are more difficult to balance than others. For Profane Procession, we really wanted the idea of creatures losing their lives. It is a literal tomb. People are going in there, they're not coming out. Balancing that out, we had to figure out, how do we manifest that? We went with Exile, which is very strong, pushes it a little bit more towards constructed power level perhaps, and then that made the payoff on the other side very natural. You take the strength that you've taken away from all of these creatures and bring it back to your side.
Path of Metal is a card that came out of the idea of that scene in every heist movie where the thief is sneaking through a room and there's a bunch of laser beams and they have to go under some of them and over some of them. Well, you can do that by being hasty or you can do that by being vigilant. And once you do that, your reward is now you get to control the laser beams.
Rivals of Ixalan is an interesting set because it's an evolution, right? It's a second set, and we've already set the premise of where we are. Ixalan. Planeswalkers can't leave. Everyone wants this thing called the Immortal Sun. No one knows what it actually is, except maybe the merfolk. Who knows? So then Rivals of Ixalan is about kicking all of that into high gear. Now we've got these distinct groups going after the Immortal Sun in the Golden City. They've uncovered all kinds of things. There's traps. There's even bigger dinosaurs than we saw before. So we're trying to take the set themes established in Ixalan, go deeper, and also bring some new spins to bring about the idea of that race, that competition for an objective.